Elisa, an American exchange student at the University of Edinburgh, joined the city's famous underground tour due to her interest in history. The tour guide led them into the ancient tunnels beneath Edinburgh's renowned Royal Mile. These vaults were built in the 17th century and were once used as marketplaces and living quarters. These tunnels were sealed off after a deadly plague in 1750, the guide explained. Thousands of people died down here. In a small chamber, Elisa spotted something strange. An old wooden chair upon which she thought she saw the silhouette of a seated figure. But as she moved closer, the apparition vanished. That evening, as Elisa was preparing for bed in her hostel room, she noticed something odd in a photo on her phone, the picture she had taken in the vaults. It no longer showed just the empty chair. Now, a gaunt figure dressed in black clothing was clearly visible, sitting on it and staring directly into the lens. At that moment, a message appeared on her phone. "You disturbed my resting place. Now you must face the consequences." A whisper seemed to drift from the streets below. "Return to the tunnels. We await you." Elisa's heart was pounding fiercely. She stood frozen in her hostel room, phone gripped tightly in her hand, utterly terrified. That message, that voice, it was all real. She decided to research at the University of Edinburgh Library. In the Special Collections room, she found records from the time of the 1750 plague. In an old diary, an entry read, "The plague has consumed our city." Dr. Alexander Dunbar claims to have found a cure, but he only saves those who join his worship. Those who refuse perish. Elisa then found an old sketch, a tall, gaunt man in black attire, his face half hidden. The caption read, "Dr. Alexander Dunbar, Plague Doctor." It was the same man from her phone photograph. Late that night, Elisa heard footsteps outside her door. A slip of old paper slid underneath it. Scrawled upon it, in what looked like blood, were the words, "You have disturbed my grave. Now you must stay with us." Suddenly, her phone began to ring. An unknown number, trembling, she answered. A rough, grating voice came from the other end. "Return to the tunnels. We will not let you go." Looking out of her window, she saw him. The same Dr. Dunbar, dressed in black, standing on the street below, his eyes glowing with a faint red light. Elisa screamed and stumbled back, but when she looked again, he was gone. She now realized this was not merely a ghost. Dr. Dunbar was still present in some form, and he wanted to make Elisa his new patient. Elisa decided to confide in her mysterious experiences with Dr. Morris, a history professor at the University of Edinburgh. She gathered her phone and the diary pages and went to his office. Professor Morris drew a deep breath as he looked at the picture and the documents. "You have awakened Dr. Dunbar," he said gravely. "He is no ordinary spirit. Dunbar was a powerful sorcerer who cheated death during the plague era. He has been hiding in these tunnels, still living, searching for a new vessel with each generation." Elisa's hair stood on end. "He wants my body?" "Yes," the professor nodded in affirmation. "And he will not stop until you become his." That very evening, Elisa decided she would return to the tunnels and confront Dunbar. Professor Morris gave her an ancient book which detailed methods to stop him. In the pitch black of the night, Elisa entered the vaults. The air smelled foul, and the sounds of shuffling and whispers echoed from the darkness. Suddenly, all the candles extinguished at once. "You have returned." Dunbar stood before her, his eyes glowing red. In his hand, he held an antique surgical knife. Elisa recited an incantation from the book, but it had no effect on Dunbar. He drew closer, and Elisa felt her limbs growing numb. Dunbar was beginning to possess her body, but abruptly, a light burst from the floor of the tunnel, and hundreds of spirits materialized, the people who had been killed by Dunbar's hand. They surrounded him, pulling him away from Elisa. When Elisa opened her eyes, she found herself in an old prison-like room. She was tied to a stone table, and the shadow of Dr. Dunbar loomed large against the walls. "You are just like your great-grandmother," Dunbar's voice echoed. "She also tried to challenge me." Elisa saw the unconscious body of Professor Morris lying in the corner of the room. In his hand was the very same ancient book she had tried to use. "You two shall be my final sacrifice," Dunbar declared. "Your souls will grant me eternal life." Elisa struggled, but the bindings were too strong. Her gaze fell on an old candle on the table, which had fallen from Professor Morris's pocket. Suddenly, she remembered. The final page of the book stated that the source of Dunbar's power was a magical candle of his own creation. Slowly, Elisa used her foot to nudge the candle towards the edge of the table. It fell to the floor, rolling and coming to a stop near Dunbar's black robes. "No!" Dunbar shrieked, but it was too late. The wax from the candle spilled onto his clothing, and with a strange shimmer, Dunbar's shadow began to convulse against the walls. "The secret to your power is your own creation," Elisa stated as the candle's flame burst to life, engulfing Dunbar's being and illuminating the entire room. Dunbar's screams filled the air, and then, with a loud explosion, he vanished. The room began to tremble. Elisa quickly roused Professor Morris, and they both scrambled out of the tunnels with great difficulty. As they emerged, they watched the entrance to the vault seal shut forever. With trembling hands, Professor Morris handed Elisa an old notebook. "This is your great-grandmother's diary. She also escaped becoming Dunbar's victim." Elisa opened the diary to the first page. It read, "Dunbar will return with each generation. Only our family can stop it." Standing on the street, Elisa knew her life had changed forever. She understood that Dunbar's shadow could return at any time, and now she was the only one who could stop him.